Well, welcome everyone. Thomas Montgomery, it is 8 o'clock. It's April Fool's Day, but we have no joking to do today. We're going to focus on some economic modeling. Mondays and Wednesdays are our training and support days focused on business financial literacy advisors. And so that's what we're going to be talking about is BFLA topics today. If you're a BFLA, you're in the right spot. And we're going to talk about how to generate income and do some modeling of that income, as well as look at some different what-if scenarios. If you're not a BFLA, everyone's welcome. Just be a fly on the wall, and hopefully you'll enjoy the information. We have six new BFLAs that just came aboard, and we have their websites either set up or in process, and we'll be turning the CRM on for you new six today. And I sent out an email on that. So what that means is you'll get an invitation to the CRM. And then once you accept that, you're going to get with Jennifer, who is our coordinator here. And then she's going to help you get visibility to your clients. You might say, well, why won't I automatically have visibility to my clients? Here's the reason. The way the CRM works is there is an assigned owner to every contact. We can only assign an owner to someone that has a CRM license. So if you're getting a CRM license today, you didn't have one yesterday. And so your client or clients that existed yesterday did not list you as the owner. Doesn't mean you weren't going to get paid commissions or anything like that. Just from a visibility perspective, you weren't assigned as the owner of the contact because we can't assign you until you have a CRM license. So 6 more of you will have CRM license here today. You'll get an email notification of that, and then you'll just work with Jennifer to make sure you have visibility for your clients. And frankly, it's a manual process, but she doesn't mind doing it. We don't mind doing it. She'll essentially have to change the contact owner of each of your clients or referred prospects over. Okay, now our focus today is to do some economic modeling. And again, thanks much to Frank, one of our top recruiters, and he helped me put together this template. So let's go through it, and hopefully you can all see the Excel spreadsheet. So first, here we have some projections based upon fast track enrollments, here off of TCR Express enrollments, and this is the cumulative effect. Let's not worry too much about this over here right now because it's the end result. And so it's going to happen automatically if we do these other things. Now let's look at some of the key variables, and we're going to change them around. So first, we're making an assumption that we're going to add 1 new fast track client per day, and the average capital raise is $100,000. The truth is the average capital raise will not be $100,000. We have some clients that go through fast track that raise $100,000, but it's not going to be the average. Now, you might say, well, what's the average going to be? It depends upon the mix of the people that you bring. Why don't we put in something very conservative, and let's assume that the average capital raise per client is going to be $30,000 on the fast track. Could be more, could be less, but we're going to do that. So then what happens is the monthly capital raise from your BFLA license is specifically going to be $900,000. Wow, it's a big number, but we're adding 1 client a day. We're generating $30,000 capital raise. We know that we make 2% as a BFLA. Now, will you see all of this capital raise in the first month? No, because, well, I shouldn't say that. If the client comes into us and they're ready for a fast track raise, then the answer is yes, but it may spill over. So if you brought someone in on yesterday, for example, the 31st of March, would you have seen this income in March? No, it's going to be about a 14-day window, but let's just assume within 30 days, you're paid of fast track clients enrolling, we do their capital raise, we do the billing, and you're paid. A 30-day cycle is fair. So is this happening within a month? Should be. Will it necessarily be in the same calendar month? No, it could very well spill over to the next. So here, and you can see the assumption, it's B4, the total capital raise, times 2%. So this is your gross income. We're going to talk about building a team and referrals and commissions and all that here in a few minutes. But let's just look at the numbers first. So this is our assumption for Fast Track. Fast Track is going to be the quickest income for you as a BFLA because the clients are ready to go to funding. That means that they have, in general, a 680 personal credit score or higher and 3 or less inquiries in the past 6 months. If they don't meet that criteria, we can look at some other options, but the perfect fit, and we'll even add that here. So we'll put an asterisk and we'll say 680 plus and 3 or less inquiries. And that means in the past 6 months. If they have more that's older, that doesn't matter. So we're gonna go up there and add that. Frank and I didn't catch that when we did that. Okay, so now let's go over, and again, we're not gonna worry about the end results. We'll get to the end results in a minute. And don't worry about this commission payout. This is based upon how much you wanna pay your sales team. Again, we're gonna come to that in a minute. So let's say that that's a pretty workable strategy, especially in today's environment, right? A lot of small businesses are struggling. A lot of employees are losing their jobs. It's a great time to start a business full-time, part-time. They could be starting a network marketing opportunity, home-based business, or traditional business. Doesn't matter. Almost all small business owners need capital. You have the keys to that. Okay, now let's go over and look at the TCR side. So let's assume we're going to add 1 per day. Will the average capital raise be 100,000? No. Can it be 100,000 or more on an individual client basis? Absolutely. But will the average capital raise be 100,000? It won't be. So let's change that and we'll just match it to 30,000. Well, you might say, well, how much will the average capital raise be? It depends upon the mix of people that you bring in. But let's use 30,000 as a conservative assumption. So it frankly mirrors what we're seeing. Now, we know that the TCR Express is going to have a little bit longer of a lag time, right? Because we're going to need to go through the restoration period before we go to the funding. So what happens is once they're finished with the restoration, 30 to 60 days, frankly, then they often go over to the Fast Track. But we're going to count them separate here. So we're going to say we add 1 TCR client per day. I think that's remarkable because both of these programs, remember, have no upfront cost. So I think you're way underperforming if you're only adding 1 TCR client per day. But we'll come back and talk about that in a minute and change the assumptions maybe. So again, if the average capital raise is 30,000, we're adding 30 new clients in a month, average capital raise of 30,000 apiece. Thus, we have a $900,000 capital raise. And to no surprise, both of these commissions appear to be the same because we're using the same assumptions. And as a BFLA, you're paid 2% of the capital raise for both of these no upfront cost offerings. So if we just left it like this, let's assume that we just did the production ourselves. So we paid no third-party commissions. We went out and generated the leads ourselves, fed them in, we keep all the money. So based upon these assumptions, the monthly gross income for 1 business financial literacy advisor generating just 1 client per day of each of the 2 programs would be 36,000 per month. We wouldn't have any commissions because we're making an assumption we're not paying anyone, and we'll probably want to change that assumption in just a second. So our bottom line is we made 36,000 in a 30-day period. Not bad, right? I know some of you are big hitters and you make more than that, and that's fine. But for those of us that are average Joes, making an extra $36,000 a month is a big deal. It's a big deal. And I'll tell you, for the average American, an extra $36,000 a year is a big deal. But I know some of you are rollers, that may not affect you much, but for the average person, big deal. Now we might say, well, all right, so those numbers seem okay, but I'm a little bit worried about coming up with these ones. You know, where am I going to find this one? Well, I would argue that you really don't look for Fast Track clients and you don't really look for TCR Express clients. You just look for small business owners. And then you just simply have some simple scripting, which will role play, and they're going to fall automatically into one of those 2 buckets based upon their criteria. If they have 680 or above and 3 or less inquiries in the past 6 months, of course, they're Fast Track. If they don't meet that, then I'd put them over here in the TCR. So you don't really have to recruit differently. Now you could have some campaigns online, in person, what have you, that does some targeted recruitment. But I think the key is to interface with key influencers, bankers, church leaders, community leaders, business influencers, such as those that operate co-working spaces, associations, organizations, and I would approach them with something like this. Hey, Eric, I'm a business financial literacy advisor. I work with small businesses through a grant subsidized program to help them access capital to start, to grow, and to reach their potential. In today's troubling economic time, it's more important than ever that small businesses have adequate capital, adequate cash on hand. What I wanted to see is if we might be able to collaborate and you could help us reach out to small business owners that you know to be able to help them with these no upfront cost strategies. These are proven, they're effective, and again, there's no upfront cost. So pause there. Something like that. Now you can spin it the way you want. I'm a teacher, you're a salesperson, so you probably have better ways to wordsmith than I do. Now, at that point, you can either say what's in it for them or not. And if you have something that's in it for them, they're probably going to be more motivated. So let's assume that we're talking to a pastor of a church. We just did the scripting that we just discussed, and now we're going to take the next step. Next paragraph. So Eric, by collaborating, what we can do is actually revenue share back with you. We can actually pay you 1 point of the capital raise of all the clients that you help us help through our programming. Would that be helpful to your organization? So pause the role play. So now by doing that, now we're paying out, if you offered that, which you don't have to, we've offered Eric in that role play 1 point, which is half of the 2 points that you receive. And you might say, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I just incurred $18,000 of commissions. So it just reduced my monthly profit by half. But the Erics of the world have the relationships that can fill your funnel. And now all of a sudden, probably what's going to happen is if you start developing some key referral relationships, your volume should go up. So what happens when your volume goes up? Your gross revenue goes up. Of course, your commission payout has gone up because we're offering them 1 point, but you're back to your whole. So if you're really good at marketing yourself and you don't want to have referrals from others, then you could drop that commission back down. To optimize your income though, I would do a 50-50 split with your referral sources, pay them 1 point. Now we're going to pay you the 2 points, you'll pay them. And you could just pay them $100, a flat $100 per lead or per referral or per conversion rather than 1%, which is half of your take. That's up to you. But I think a best practice for simplicity would, people love 50-50 splits. Who can argue that 50-50 is fair? So I don't think that it's unreasonable at all that we start generating 2 enrollments per day. And frankly, it'll probably be more like this. It'll probably be more of 3 TCRs per day and 1 fast track just because of the average credit profile of small business owners. But regardless, it works out the same. So that is what I would be doing is I would be, as a business financial literacy advisor, I would be out talking to key influencers and getting their support in creating awareness to drive people in. Now, how do they drive them in? If you've paid your BFLA license, then you get a private branded website. And many of you have it and others will soon once you pay your license fee. And so you can be driving them in to your site. Let's say that you have not yet paid for your license, so you're a step earlier in that. Well, you can still have them have their prospects contact you individually via text, phone, email, however you want, and then you help those prospects go on into the funnel. So it's not really that big of a problem. So with all that being said, this is just a simple economic model of what I believe that every one of our BFLAs should be doing. We should be enrolling on average one fast track client per day. We should be enrolling on average 3 TCR Express clients per day, based upon developing referral relationships with key influencers. If you don't want to do that, then we just need to reduce probably the projection down to 1 apiece. With that, that's the economic model. I think it's very attainable to start generating some adult income, 72,000 gross, 36,000 net. And I didn't annualize that out, but we can go ahead and do that. So annualized net profit, we'll move that over to a right margin. We're going to take the monthly, extrapolate that out for 12 months in the year. And shame on me for having taught accounting, but we're going to get this all cleaned up here. And so now we're looking at a projection. But let's be more conservative. Let's say that we don't get there. Let's say that we only get half of a fast track client enrolled per day, and we only get 1 TCR. So pretty conservative. And let's say that we're not even going to use any referral sources. We're just going to do it on our own. Well, that annualizes out to a little over of $250,000 a year to be a BFLA. Now, you all are already BFLAs, and so you put your deposits in, and there's a little bit of a license fee. But I mean, you recoup that in your first month. So that is not going to be a barrier. All right, so there's the economic model that I wanted to share with you. What we're going to do now is go through your Q&A and make sure that we're addressing the questions. And if your question's regarding to a BFLA question, then we're going to address it. If not, this is not the right time, because Mondays and Wednesdays are reserved for our business financial literacy advisors. So let me see. I'm going to look for questions that are relevant to this. Okay, Doug has one. Thank you, Doug. So if we pay the $9.99 license fee for the BFLA, the deposit, and then later want to become a joint venture, it's important to understand, Doug, that each of the 4 roles is different and distinct. And I can tell you that many of our BFLAs are also joint venture partners. Those 2 run complementary of each other, not conflicting, because the joint venture partners focus on the Capital Ready program and bringing in other JV partners, where the BFLAs focus on these 2 offerings, the Fast Track and the TCR. So keep that in mind. Those are not redundant or conflicting. Thank you, Doug, for your question. That scripting I frankly just did off the cuff. I pulled it out of an orifice, but I will send this recording out to everyone, and you can use that or modify that as you care to, or probably come up with something better. Oh, Peter asked the same thing. So yes, we're recording this now, and this will go out to everyone, if not today, tomorrow. All right. Gina asked, with the TCR program, having a little trouble following, Gina. I'm sure it's me, not you, but yeah, all this modeling is based upon the BFLA role. And the key, we can do these models, and it's important to plan and then have daily action steps. But the key is to take action. Again, with today's economic environment, which is nothing to laugh at or delight in, but and you've heard me say that before, there are economic winners and economic losers right now. Every one of you have the keys to the car to be an economic winner by helping others. And probably more than anything, there's going to be a ratio of probably 3, well, I don't know, maybe even 5, a 5-to-1 ratio, probably 5 TCR Express for every 1 Fast Track. But again, you don't have to approach it differently. You don't have to go sell them on the product. You're just simply asking them if they would be interested in assistance in raising capital for their small business. And then based upon where they fit credit-wise, is going to compartmentalize them if they're ready to go to funding now, or if they're not, if we need to do some improvement first. So right now, a lot of people are in a difficult situation. And when you have a no upfront cost solution to their problem, it's good. Yeah, it's so big that we ran out of space there. We're going to expand that. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question, Gina. But yeah, so this has nothing to do with affiliates, right? This is the BFLA training, and this is a BFLA model. This has nothing to do with affiliates. We're not doing affiliate training today. Gus asked, when you pay the $9.99 for the BFLA, what do we get to do business? Well, once you pay the license in full, which is true for any of the license agreements, then you're getting the website, you're getting the CRM access and so forth. But once the deposit's in, we can start on that process and help you secure the financing for the rest. But it is important to understand that all the tools come from paying the license fee, not just the deposit. Frank asked, does the affiliate have authority to onboard clients? Yes, but you know, we're doing the BFLA training here, and there's really not much onboarding to do, right? It's really simple. There's a web page for the Fast Track, and there's a web page for the TCR Express. Once you have your own site, both of those web pages are on your site, your private label site, and you just help them fill out the form, follow those instructions. It is super simple. It's much easier than bringing on capital ready clients. Tracy says, when we are apply, maybe she means, or he means when we are applying for the TCR and Fast Track program for funding to try for 50,000 to 100,000, will we get offer for these amounts as we finish the TCR program? Okay, well, if we're in the TCR program, we're not going to go for funding until we've completed. So there's two phases of the TCR program. Let's go ahead and add that here. And Frank and I missed this. So phase one is credit building. And that's both personal and business, building out the Dun & Bradstreet and all that. Oh, that looks all jacked up. I'm not sure how that happened. So there we go. And then phase two is funding. Primarily under EIN. Okay, so going back to Tracy's question, if we go into the TCR program, then what we're going to do is finish phase one, build out the personal and business credit profiles, and then we go to funding in phase two. And phase two, we'll actually add a little point that would normally we start phase two with the Fast Track. Well, they didn't like that at all. Well, we'll ignore that. So the point that I'm trying to make is when we go into funding, often, but not always, the first round of funding in the TCR Express will be the Fast Track. So they don't have, well, we'll just leave it at that. So there's different sources of funding that we can do, but most often we'll do Fast Track once we're into phase two. So hopefully that answered the question. Now, some people will come to us and they say, okay, I need funding now, plus I need TCR. Well, if they need funding now, they either need to get into the Capital Ready program or Fast Track. And of course, those are kind of opposites, right? If we already qualify for Fast Track, then we wouldn't do TCR. So normally we don't do funding until phase two of the TCR program because there's improvement needs to be taken care of first. Okay. Jake asks, practically speaking, what level of detail do we get with our weekly ACH on Friday? Well, the detail will be in Post Affiliate Pro, and it'll show you by client, the client funding. And the ACH is just going to be a dollar amount, and we put in a little note, please see Post Affiliate Pro for detail. So the ACH itself is just the money we send on Thursday, you get on Friday, Jake. The detail is in Post Affiliate Pro. Okay, I want to make sure that we're on topics for here. Yeah, our goal is to raise 100,000 with the TCR program, and I'm just trying to give you conservative estimates. We don't guarantee 100,000, but that's the goal. But I think Gina wants to see this number at the 100,000, and so that's going to make it look pretty strong. But there you go, Gina, fix that. Sean asks, is the 30,000 the average norm capital raise under the TCR Express program? No, the 30,000 is a low ball number, but we're just trying to do some what if scenarios from a planning purpose. Part of it depends upon, see, in the TCR, there's not the guarantee of the 100,000, but we'll keep working with them as long as they want to continue to raise capital and you continue to get paid. So I guess with your comment, Sean and Gina's, we should leave this as 100,000. It's just most likely it's going to come through multiple tranches. I think the first tranche being 30,000 is a more reasonable estimate, and then we can continue through additional tranches. This was referencing the first tranche. And so I probably should make comment on that. And we'll say that this is first tranche, which means first round, if you will. So will the capital raise be more for TCR clients than 30,000? Almost always, but this is a reasonable estimate of what the first tranche would be, which is going to be your money right away. Thank you for the question. Jake says if a client signed their TCR Express and they've not heard, so they should be getting an email that has their client portal access. And if they check their junk mail, their spam folders or what have you, and they don't have it, then just go ahead and have them go back to totalcreditrebuild.org, fill out that form again, and we'll run them through the process again to get them in the flow. But our vendor, to the best of our knowledge, is caught up and has reached out to everyone, but people can certainly fall through the cracks. The process now is really smooth. It's going really well for the Capital Ready as well as the Fast Track and TCR. For everyone now, we're still cleaning up the backlog. Kwong asks, is the BFLA license taxable? How about capital raise? Do I have to pay taxes? Well, when you generate income, so let's use this example, Kwong. So with these assumptions, which I'm not saying are the assumptions you want to bank off of, but this here would show that you would bring in 1.3, we'll round off $1 million. And depending upon how your business is set up and the deductions that you have, then obviously you might have a tax liability for net profit. But most likely you're going to draw a salary out of this. You're going to draw, and let's go ahead and put those in. So let's do example expenses. And again, these are expenses that you would decide, Kwong, if you want to pay yourself or not, or if you even want to run through your business. But let's say that you want a company car. And let's say that that's $1,500 a month or $18,000 a year. So we're doing off of annual. Let's move all these to the right margin. Let's say that you want a salary. I don't know how much of a salary that you'd want, Kwong, but let's just say $50,000 a month. So $60,000. I'm going to put dollar signs here, don't we? Let's say you want to pay yourself benefits have a nice benefit plan, health, life, dental, retirement. Let's say that that's $24,000 a year. And I guess you could have offices or travel or what have you, but the total sample expenses would be equals these, and again, it's whatever you want your expenses to be, not what I want. And so then we'll call it your net profit would be this minus this. So then you'd be putting like 654,000 into your retirement account or retained earnings or what have you. So ultimately, yeah, you'll work with your accountant and figure out how to set everything up from a tax perspective. But yeah, the goal is to have such a profitable business that you do pay taxes. That's the way it's supposed to work. Okay, hopefully, Kwong, I got to the point that you had. And I need to put sample here because this is just based on her question. Okay, so we got that one covered. Let's see. Questions. Gina asks, so our clients don't have to come out of pocket to put trade lines on their credit to get funding. So when we're going through the TCR program, TCR Express, we're often doing three things: removing negative, adding positive, and creating verifiable income. That's going to give them the optimal access to funding. Your question, Gina, is a good one. Well, if they're adding positive trade lines, would they have any expense for that? And the answer depends on the trade line. What you or I could do right now, I can log into my Discover card and I can add an authorized user right now for no cost. And so now that person shows perfect payment history of a Discover card, whatever that credit limit is, 25 or 30,000 for the past couple of years. And so, getting authorized user accounts from friends or family is free. So it just depends upon the type of trade line that they're adding, if they need to even add any. But that is a good point, Gina. It's possible that they may elect to add trade lines that have a fee base to them, but not everyone will need to do that or want to do that. So it's not a requirement, but you're right, it could be an incidental expense. Good point. McLean asked about the license fee. Yeah, just for the BFLA, it's $9.99 deposit, and we finance the rest. Gus, yeah, great question. We don't have really material in Spanish. All the websites that we create are in English and Spanish, though. And so, Gus, you have should have your private label, white label BFLA website, and you go down to the bottom corner and click it to Spanish, and everything's in Spanish. I don't know if you knew that or not. All right, so I think we've got it covered here. So our goal today for our BFLA training was to do some economic modeling. And then the secondary goal was, and maybe it was too subtle, was to encourage you to develop relationships with key influencers who can fill your funnel. Because I don't think that these numbers, for most of us, a few of us maybe, but for most of us, we're not going to drive these types of numbers if we're just a lone ranger. We're going to need to reduce that. And of course, then we're going to have to come over here and reduce our expenses. We're not going to be able to afford that. So maybe we make our salary a nice 180,000, 15,000 a month. I missed it, 0 there. So if we're going to be a solo operator, I think 1-on-1 is probably what we should shoot for, 30 of each in a month. If we're going to be more aggressive, more effective, smarter about it, we're going to go out and develop key influencer relationships and share income with them. And then all of a sudden, we're going to be able to drive up our volume. We're going to have a commission payout of whatever it is that you want to pay them. And so with that, then it's still going to work out really well for you, but we're going to almost always generate more volume if we have people on our team. And that's why the BFLA model is structured as it is. You're getting 2% instead of 1% payout, so you can share that. But again, you could just offer them a flat $100 or something instead of being as generous as this, but that's up to you. So again, we've covered some economic modeling. Obviously the BFLA role is, it's probably the easiest role that we have. It's easy to get into. There's no upfront cost for the offerings for the clients, so we don't have that objection or obstacle. And it's an opportunity to help a lot of people. Even if we didn't have the pandemic going on, this is a sweet spot to be in. With the economic conditions we have now, it's an essential one. You know, you're not a doctor or a nurse or a respiratory therapist, but you're playing a similarly important role in our economy in helping these small businesses stay alive, or to start to be able to create new small businesses while the unemployment rate's going through the roof. So with that being said, there's going to be economic winners and losers. You can see here that there's no doubt that you can be an economic winner. It's up to you though. Either you produce or you don't. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.